1-0 on the season and standing atop the NL Central, the Cardinals win their home opener, the season opener, 5-3 over the Minnesota Twins. Welcome on into the first edition of Cards Hub Postgame here on Sports Hub STL. I am Joe Roderick, joined alongside by Ethan Hannaford, who is at Busch Stadium right now and got to take it all in, all 9 innings, plus the 1 hour and 38-minute rain delay. But when it's all said and done, Ethan, it was 100% worth it, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about that. Listen, this is a team that is very familiar with rain delays. I found earlier the stat, over 20 hours in 2024 that they spent in rain delays, as well as 3 games that were postponed. But we got through it. That's the main thing. We got through it, and it was a fun one. And it was a great crowd here at Busch Stadium, over 47,000 in attendance. Despite the questions, is it gonna be as packed as it always was? I tell you what, I know that at the beginning during the ceremonies, there was a flutter of some boos to the DeWitts and to Mo. But overall, that's the part I love the most about opening day, is it feels like everything can just kind of go away. All the frustrations, all of the anger, you can kind of just put it away and celebrate together that baseball is back. And that's what this crowd felt like today. You saw the intelligence of Cardinals Nation today in this crowd. They were invested in the game, from the Clydesdales making their appearance to the final strikeout of the night for Ryan Helsley. The crowd felt so into it. And Ricky Horton said at the end of the broadcast today, and I completely agree. It just felt like Cardinals baseball. That's what today felt like. And such a big part of that is the fans. It was so refreshing to have them in the mix. It was a fun one. And you can only complain so much when you come away with a Redbird winner.
We want to hear from you about the game today. Were you down there? What was it like being at Busch Stadium? Did you sit through all the rain delay? What'd you do while you sat through it all? Or did you just enjoy it at home as the Cardinals win 1-0? And as Hulk Hogan's t-shirt points out, as I said at the beginning, well, which NL Central team didn't lose today? Cubs still play. Cubs are still are getting ready to play, right? Are they a night game? Or they're at night.
Yes.
Yeah, but the
They've
Pirates,
they've already lost. So
they're already
0-2.
They're already 0-2. But the Pirates, they blow an outstanding outing by Paul Skeens. You had the Reds lose their game. The Brewers lose in the Bronx. And who am I missing? Which one team am I?
Did you say the Reds?
I said the Reds. The Cubs, Reds, the Brewers,
Pirates, Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers. There's the 5.
Okay, there you go. There's the 5. I thought I had only mentioned 3 of them. So first place, 1 down, 162 or 161 to go. 162 still a possibility. It still is. As the comments are rolling in here on the show today, and we welcome them all for that. Things got started right away. Sonny Gray in that first inning, it was almost like he was playing possum in spring training with some of those outings, just kind of lulling hitters into thinking he didn't have it anymore. That approach wasn't there. A 6-pitch first inning. That's exactly what you wanted to see out of Sonny Gray, because coming into it, I mean, that was still the biggest question mark. All the talk we had today, the Randy Carricker show this morning, when we did the Bernie talking about everything this morning, Cards Hub 365 this afternoon, I think everybody that you talked to knew that the Cardinals offense should hit. They should be exciting. They should be fast. The big question was the starting pitching, and to come out and just throw 6 pitches at the beginning of the game was just a phenomenal way to start.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I mean, there's no hiding that Sonny Gray's spring training was atrocious. It was not good. But despite the poor numbers, the most concerning part, right, was the velocity being down. And the velocity was still down today. I mean, you look through some of the numbers. His fastest pitch today was in the 3rd inning, 92.2 on the gun. So it's not like the velo was back to what it was in 2024, but he was able to mix in the off speed and kind of said what he had mentioned prior to his final start of spring training was he's going to have to figure out how to pitch differently. And he did that today for the most part. I know he had some trouble in a couple of innings, but yes, I think that all of Cardinal Nation can agree, whether they were here at the ballpark, whether they're at a watch party at home, had a little bit of a sigh of relief when he struck out Carlos Correa and then followed that out with a pop-up of Byron Buxton. Two great hitters, two of the better hitters in Major League Baseball. So I completely agree. Was very promising seeing that start from Sonny Gray today.
And then offensively, you know, time will tell. What the offense and what the at bats will look like under Brant Brown, the new hitting coach for the Cardinals. But it seemed like they had, and this isn't just at the plate. It seemed like overall, you're facing an all-star caliber pitcher like Pablo Lopez, and the Cardinals, the hitting scouting department, they had an awful lot, it seemed, on it. They had him well scouted, not only from what he was throwing up there at the plate, but also too when they had runners on base. There was something. There was something, and I know that I know that Brendan Schaefer, I know Ryan Fagan and others are going to be in the locker room in the clubhouse and at Ollie's press conference, and I wonder if it's going to come up or if it was something that just happened 2.5 hours ago that we forget about. But not only were they taking good swings and they had an approach at the plate, the big thing was Lars Nootbaar in the first drawing that balk, and then Jordan Walker in the second getting on or taking off early and forcing the wild throw into center. There was something that this coaching staff saw out of Pablo Lopez that seemed to have jumped out at them, that they knew they could take advantage of. And I think that speaks a lot to how prepared this team was.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. It was as sigh of relief almost at the top of the first inning. You could argue that the bottom of the first was just as much so. And finally, seeing immediate results, seeing the Cardinals immediately get the bats going, like you mentioned. I really like Lars Nootbaar at the top of the lineup, but it was very interesting. Figuring out how exactly Ollie Marmol was going to go about what his lineup construction would be like. We saw a lot of Mason Wynn at the top of the lineup in the spring, and boy, did it. I mean, it felt like almost immediately we saw the positive repercussions of Lars Nootbaar being at the top, the base hit, and then, like you mentioned, clearly seeing something while on the base pass, forcing the balk. And then Brendan Donovan hits a little squibbler that gets through up the middle, and all of a sudden it's 1-0, and it's almost like I said for a second, it's like all the negativity is like it all just goes away for a second because everything's working up to that point in inning end. But it is promising, being able to get off to a good start, and when those were two of the biggest headlines from the spring, seeing the Cardinals immediately respond and come up with what they had 10 hits today. And then also Sonny Gray being able to put 5 innings of, it wasn't his best stuff, but I think the biggest thing was you have to figure out how to pitch when you don't have your best stuff. And Sonny Gray's a pro. He's been around this game for a long time. He knows how to do that. We saw that today in a little bit of a different way that we had never seen before. But back to the hitting approach. Yes, I completely agree. There was something that they had on Pablo Lopez today, which once again, opening day starter. This is a guy that's had a lot of success the last several years in the majors, back to his time in Miami. This isn't just your number 5 starter or anything. The Cardinals clearly had something on him, and it is encouraging seeing them with a new hitting coach in Brant Brown, a guy that I have heard is very electric, very eccentric. Wants to get his guys fired up, and you saw that energy a little bit today. Both on the field, but also when you see guys running and you see the activity like that, we know that there's been talk that this team wants to run more. I'm encouraged seeing that, not necessarily because it's happening, but also the guys who it's happening with. Lars Nootbaar, he's a good athlete, but he's not a speedster. The Cardinals are going to have to figure out ways to be able to play small ball and get creative with how they function runs, because the offense the last couple of years just quite hasn't been there. They don't have that star power that they've had in previous years. So they're going to have to figure out how to get it done in different ways. And it felt like today was a great example that they talked the talk in the sense that they said that they want to do that. Today they walked the walk.
Yeah, and right now, lineup construction, I know we've talked a lot about it in the past week. And 5 runs, that's great. That's going to win you a lot of games. You put up 5 runs a game. And I think it's very safe to say that the lineup that we're seeing right now, the one we saw in Memphis and saw today, same lineup, it's going to change a lot. I don't foresee a long-term lineup of Wilson Contreras batting second and Brendan Donovan batting third. They are not your typical 2-3 hitters in a major league lineup, but I think right now it's a feeling out process because you had Mason Wynn, who was last year's leadoff hitter, struggled so much in spring training that you decided you needed to start him at the very bottom of the order. We still don't know 100% what Victor Scott's going to do this year and how he's going to hit this year. Went over today, but again, give him time. He saved plenty of runs out there in the outfield with his defense, and we'll get to that later on. But as we continue to see this season play out, we're going to get a lot better of an idea of what this lineup is going to look like. And I think right there that the top of the lineup, those guys are productive, but I just don't see them as being long-term 2-3 solutions. But if it's going to win you games right now, go for it. Stick with it and see how far it'll take you until somebody else shows that they deserve to be moved up top. And at some point, maybe Ollie breaks away from going left, right, and changes things up a little bit, especially too as the season goes on and you start to get a few more numbers on certain pitchers you're up against.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well said. I mean, we've seen this on multiple occasions. I think when Paul Goldschmidt first became a Cardinal, I think he batted in the 2 spot at the very beginning of his time here, and we didn't see that very often once they figured out where he fit best in the lineup. I want to say that, don't quote me on this, I want to say that Wilson Contreras at the beginning of 2023 spent some time in the 2 spot, but I may not be correct on that, so don't quote me on that. But it goes to show that like your opening day lineup in the same way that your 26-man roster on opening day is not going to be what it looks like in a month, 2 months, 3 months. It's the same day with your lineup in most occasions. A lot of it also has to do with what guys look like in spring training to a certain extent. If Mason Wynn has a lights out spring training, he's probably still at the top of the order. But I like Mason Wynn in that 9 spot personally because it gives you some speed in the 8-9 with Victor Scott there. Mason Wynn as well. Mason Wynn, there's much less pressure on him in the 9 spot. You look at his numbers last year, like each batting or spot in the order, he hit much better in the 9 spot at the bottom of the lineup than he did at the top. So maybe Ollie going back to something that's a little bit more comfortable for him. Lars profiles perfectly as a leadoff guy, as a top of the lineup guy, because he gets on base so much. We saw the power today in that bomb he hit to right field. But yeah, going back to the 2-3, it's most definitely not your conventional 2-3 in the order. I think everyone would agree that Wilson Contreras, like when you think of a 3-hole hitter, a 4-hole hitter, that's kind of what you see Wilson Contreras as. But it's not the craziest thing in the world to see Brendan Donovan in the 3 spot against righties, if it makes sense. But I have a feeling that once we see a lefty, we're not going to see Donnie probably batting in the 3 spot.
Yeah, Mick M. Gill saying Marmol the king of left, right. I'll tell you, if it works out for you, I love it. I do in today's Major League Baseball with the rules for relievers. I love that idea of going left, right mm-hmm. when you can, when it makes sense for you to do that, when you have the arsenal to do that. And some teams do and some teams don't. So right now it's more of figuring out, okay, can you get away with it with the personnel you have? And we'll see that moving forward. We'll see what the Cardinals do in the days and the weeks to come with a lot of that. So that's something that time will tell. You mentioned the Lars Nootbaar home run. That was a blast because all the reports earlier after all the rain went out, and Ethan, you could probably speak on this more than I can because this is just me reading reports and seeing what they were saying on TV. But by all accounts, they were saying the wind was blowing in from right field pretty steadily at the beginning of the game, and for Lars to put one out the way he did into right field, that makes it even more impressive for his first home run of the year.
Yeah, no doubt. The weather was nasty here earlier. That it was on and off hard rain. I'm thankful that the sun came out eventually, but It ended up being a really, really nice weather for the game today, which is always on opening day refreshing. But yeah, I mean, Lars Nootbaar, it's interesting how his game has continued to evolve as to where, like, yes, he still is the on-base king. He is the guy that I don't know if there's a lot of guys out there that know the strike zone better than him, but we also have time has gone on, seen the power and the ability to hit for power become a little bit more and more part of his game. Which has been nice. Having a little pop at the top of the order is nice. And he most definitely got a hold of that one that Lopez threw today, and ended up being a bigger moment in the game because we saw the large majority of the Cardinals offense come in the early innings. Arenado's home run, the only one in the later innings. So they ended up needing that for the late little surge that the Twins got there, having a couple of opportunities late where they could have tied it up. So, I mean, those runs ended up being really, really big early in the game.
How about Jordan Walker in today? So much. I feel like if anybody, he has got to have the most pressure on him of everybody else. From making his debut when he did, it just the way that he worked his way onto this club, and the up and down Memphis shuttle that he has taken over the years of just not performing and being sent back down, back and forth to come out today. 116 miles per hour off the bat for him. Alec Burleson today, 110 mile an hour off the bat, and that double play that he hit. Those are guys right there. We're talking middle of the order guys. You start hitting the baseball 110 miles an hour, and you do that consistently, real good things are going to happen in the long run with that. Those balls are going to find their way into the gap. They're going to find their way over walls as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, that ball that Jordan Walker hit today may have been a tad bit early on it, but he absolutely smoked it past the third baseman, hit off the carom. That was the only disappointing part, is that he only got one bag out of it. But yeah, it's things like that get you excited on opening day. It's really easy to, should I say, overreact about those early couple of games because you don't really have anything else to build off of. It's not until you really get a couple of weeks in that you can start to actually get some okay, what is this team looking like? They're starting to build their rhythms, and you're starting to see where they are. But it's moments like that show you what Jordan Walker can be. He is so strong, even with the struggles that he had last year. He still was hitting the ball hard when he was making contact. Just that he wasn't making a lot of contact last year. And he was hitting it on the ground a lot. There's a lot of potential in the bat of Jordan Walker because of his raw strength. And it's going to be exciting to see what he is able to do with that this year.
Let's talk about the bullpen for a bit. First off, the starting pitching, you already mentioned it, Sonny Gray. 5 innings, 4 hits, and 2 walks, 77 pitches. I wonder if that was a case of, we didn't see him fully go, I think, as much as we would have wanted to in spring training. So I wonder if he is 100% ready for season play, or if it had to do with the rain delay that we had. I know he probably wasn't warming up, getting ready, but still, Sonny Gray is a guy that is very routine in what he does. That an hour and 38-minute rain delay is something that a Sonny Gray type pitcher is not going to like at all. So, but to get 5 innings of quality baseball out of him, not a quality start, but quality pitching out of him in that game, you have to like what you saw out of Sonny Gray in that one. Kyle Leahy comes in relief in the 6th. He goes 2/3 of an inning, struggles a little bit in his first outing of the year, but John King comes in, gives up a hit, but gets out of it. And then the back end, Chris Roycroft and Phil Maton in the 7th and 8th inning. Chris Roycroft, a guy that, again, we saw last year a lot in the big league club, but if he's going to be one of your back end guys late in the game and he pitches like that, this is going to be a really, really quality bullpen for another season, setting up Ryan Helsley in the 9th.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll real quick before we get into the bullpen, I'll just mention I asked Sonny Gray one question in postgame last year. And it was after a start where they had a rain delay, and I asked him how does that affect your routine? And the answer that he gave me was absolutely amazing. He took me by basically 15-minute increments of everything that he does to keep himself loose and fresh, but to not tire himself out. And knowing, like you said, Sonny Gray is so meticulous in everything that he does. His preparation for a game starts hours before. I mean, it really that's probably one of the reasons why he doesn't really go beyond the 5th and 6th inning, is because he does so much prep that, I mean, the start for him is really like in the latter half of everything that he's doing, because it takes so much time for him to get focused both physically and mentally. So totally agree with the that definitely could have been part of the why he only threw 77 pitches. We're also going to see these guys sort of amp up. They're not going to be nearing 100 pitches, or we may not even see them at 90 the first time through the rotation for them. But
and
yeah,
remember too, we have that six-man rotation coming too in late April. Yeah. That you have another starter lurking in Steven Matz, who can either jump in at any time, or when they decide to finally flip the switch on that, it's going to give these guys an extra day off as the year goes, as the early season goes on too.
Yeah, 100%. And that's going to be I'm very curious as to how the Cardinals are going to handle that. How that's going to impact how Ollie is using his starters. I'm very curious of that whole situation, how long that's going to last. Very intrigued to take a look at the 6-man rotation eventually. But going back to the bullpen today, for the most part, I thought it was pretty sharp. Leahy, and King ran into some issues, but they were helped out by some defense. I forget what inning that was. Was that the 6th inning that Victor Scott made that play in right center field, making that catch on the run?
Was that the Leahy inning? I'm looking it up real quick here for that. So if somebody wants to comment on that, feel free to do so.
Either way, like even those guys, we know that this Cardinals team last year was the part of the reason that their pitching was so good was because their defense was so good. This was for the most part, a pitching staff that was based around contact until you got into the later innings when you're dealing with Kittredge, Romero, and Helsley. But in large part, your pitching was so good last year because your defense was so good. Mm-hmm. And just another example today of why having a guy out there like Victor Scott that can play good defense, and I am hopeful will continue to improve. Last year, Michael Ciani was the better defensive center fielder. We know that Victor Scott is going to be able to get there with how quick he is, with how good his glove is. He's going to get there. Today, that play that he made out in right center field today was very promising. I saw 30.2 feet per second, and the catch probability was 10%. Like, all I'm saying is
30
get
feet
ready
per
to see a lot
elite.
of that. Singles.
30 feet per second is elite. So he was 30.2. So over, just slightly above elite defense, elite speed from Victor Scott II. And it was the last pitch that Kyle Leahy threw. It's our, I looked it up here, and also thanks to our friends in the YouTube chat for filling us in on that as well, telling us, that was the play. And then it was John King who gave up the double right after that to Willie Castro in his first pitch, and his first at bat after that. So, but that was, again, then Ryan Helsley comes out and does exactly what Ryan Helsley does in that 9th inning. It gives up a hit, but still made really quick work of that. And that's one thing I'm going to look at too this year and pay close attention to, because Ryan Helsley last year was so good at coming in and making short work of his outings and finishing them off in 12 pitches or less, and being able to go out there on those back-to-back days. And that's something that I think we need to pay close attention to see if he has kept with that this year after having such an elite season last year.
Yeah, that's no doubt that his effectiveness last year was a huge reason as to why Ollie Marmol was able to use him like he did. And we know that getting into the routine of being the 9th inning guy played huge dividends last year in that way. I expect that to be the same exact thing this year. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now, it is most definitely not broke. Dating back to last year now, that's 8 straight outings now that have been really clean for Ryan Helsley, 8 for 8 in his last 8 save opportunities dating back to 2024. I mean, this is a guy that was lights out last season and most definitely continued with that trend here today. And I'll even say that, it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on what the 7th and 8th innings look like this year for the Cardinals, because, I know everyone came back except Andrew Kittredge, but Andrew Kittredge pitched a lot of innings last year and was a huge piece of that Cardinals bullpen. I thought Phil Maton looked really good today, and I'm excited to see what not that you can expecting anyone to do what Andrew Kittredge, just going with blind expectations and say you should be able to do that. I don't know is necessarily fair, but it just goes to show how important it was. I think it's going to continue to show how important it was to bring in that veteran piece that can shore up those late inning appearances that can be high stress at times.
And also too defensively, a few comments coming in the YouTube chat. As Ryan says, interesting to me, Siani went to center and Victor Scott went to right in the 9th inning. To me, not that because Siani, you look at how many innings Michael Siani played in center field at Busch Stadium last year. And when you talk to any young outfielder, the biggest thing they say is how difficult it is to go from those minor league stadiums to the big league stadiums. Michael Siani has more experience than anybody in, I would say in Busch Stadium today, but I'd say Harrison Bader had more in center field at Busch Stadium. But Michael Siani had more preparation, has had more innings in center field than anybody in that Cardinal locker room. So he's the guy that you're going to put out in center field, and you move Victor Scott over to right. That makes, to me, I'm fine with that move as far as who's going to make me the most comfortable out in center field.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. The interesting thing that, and I'm curious to see, is it looks like Siani's defensive appearances are going to take away the most from Jordan Walker. While I do understand what they're going for with Siani being there, and I've been an advocate, I also do see the other side, and where eventually is that going to potentially impact Jordan Walker having that big final at bat in the later innings of the game. I'll be curious to see how often they end up using that defensive substitution, because as I mentioned this past weekend, I don't think that Michael Siani is going to get any at bats. I single digit here, like in the next probably couple of weeks. I really don't think he's going to get a lot of offensive time. This is going to be his role for this team. It'll be interesting, though, to see how much Ali is willing to go to him in those situations rather than keep Walker in the game potentially. And maybe some of it's going to take into consideration where they're at in the lineup, too, and where Walker's coming up in to make sure that he's getting those late inning opportunities as well. But I'll be curious to keep an eye on that here in the next several weeks.
By the way, when you have a game like this, a complete game like this, I just mentioned Harrison Bader, and it also occurred to me, when you get a win like this and an old friend like Harrison Bader also homers for the other team, but you still win the game, it's a feel-good moment all around. Everybody's happy with the way things went. You win the game. Harrison Bader comes back to St. Louis. He hits a home run. He gets a nice ovation on opening day. Who got you were there. Who got the loudest ovation for the Cardinals? I want a Red Jacket or current player. Who got the loudest ovation from what you heard?
Well, listen, anytime that the Wizard is in attendance, whether there's 20,000 people here or there's 45,000 people here.
47,000 today. It was a sellout for everybody that talked about how tickets were available. They were not available at the end of the by the time the first pitch was thrown today. No, so Ozzy got the highest. Or
I would say Ozzy was number one, and I would say that Bader was probably number two. To my surprise, a little bit. But I think there's a certain amount of charm to players that return, and St. Louis has always been known for giving love to play, no matter how many times they come here. Like Harrison Bader has played here on numerous occasions since leaving the Cardinals. But he still ends up getting the love. I think that's just a Cardinal faithful thing to do. And it helps when it's on opening day. Everyone's already sparked up a little bit. I would say, though, that right there in the mix with Harrison Bader was Nolan Arenado. I think that, and this goes to show how smart Cardinal fans are, is that they know everything that went on this offseason. And throughout that, they're able to say, like, hey, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the professional that you have been since arriving in the spring, how you have handled time with the media. I mean, John Mozeliak saying, like, yeah, I thought it was going to be a little awkward too, but saying it's been good. Like, we've been good. He's been a huge professional about this. Like, that goes to show what kind of ball player Nolan Arenado is. And the fans recognize that, and they gave him his love for it today. And, I mean, talk about an amazing moment from the fans giving him love in the pregame ceremony to what he did for that extra insurance at the end of the night.
I got to tell you, I'm shocked to hear that, because if I would have had to guess, I would have said Ozzie would have been number one, with Willie being a close second, and then I would have thought like Mason Wynn would have been third on that. I think I would have put. I don't know what I would have thought about Arenado. I don't know if I would have thrown him in the top 5.
Did you say Willie? Like,
yeah,
Willie McGee?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't here today.
He wasn't there today. Okay, I did not get a chance to see the pregame ceremony, so I missed that. So I didn't see that he wasn't there today.
You would have. Yeah, he did. I'm not sure why, but Willie was not one of the Red Jackets that was in attendance today, so he was definitely missed. But yeah, I mean, all fair reasoning too, though. Mason Wynn. I mean, people are excited about him. I will say, Lars Nootbaar did get some laughs at the beginning of the game, because the truck order. If you're not aware, they go in numerical order, and then the final 9 is the starting lineup for that day. However, there were a couple of people that weren't in the lineup. It was Ryan Fernandez and Phil Maton that were in trucks behind Lars Nootbaar. So they had to pause for a second, and they had to make sure that they didn't announce Nootbaar because he was in the lineup. So Nootbaar gets out of his truck, and he's kind of just hanging off to the side. Fernandez and Maton get announced. Nootbaar jumps in Maton's truck, sits back down so he could be announced. It was very Lars Nootbaar, just goofy personality, silly guy. And he got some laughter from the crowd, and then he got a great applause as well when he was announced.
I haven't seen who Sports Hub STL has put as their player of the game, Ethan. Who are you going with as your player of the game for today?
I mean, it has to be Lars Nootbaar, right? I mean, from that phenomenal entrance during the ceremonies to how much of a spark, a jolt he was early in the ball game. It has to be him, right? Getting the offense going early, and then the power that we saw from him as well. Has to be Lars Nootbaar, who on the day ends up going 2 for 4, 2 RBIs in the home run. I think there's a couple of guys you could throw into the mix. Arenado ended up having 2 hits, and obviously the home run. That was, and just real quick, the Arenado moment when he hit the home run and the crowd gave him a curtain call, and he came out, and if you were watching, he put his ear right here, like, let me hear you, let me hear you. If that doesn't like sure your spot with the fans that, like, yeah, we know you're in this with us, then I don't know what does. So, whether he's here all season, whether he's here for the next 3 seasons, whether he's here for half a season, Nolan Arenado is invested on playing the best baseball that he can, not only for himself, but for this team and for this city right now. I think that's a very respectable thing, and you saw that today in a lot of different ways.
Around the NL Central, Giants beat the Reds 6-4. The Yankees beat the Brewers 4-2, and the Marlins edge out the Pirates 5-4. Cubs and Diamondbacks later on tonight. That game starts in about 45 minutes from right now. Only bad news today, Ethan. My first edition of the Roddy Bombs. I hit first with Tyler O'Neill. He homered for his 6th straight opening day, but did not get it out of Josh Bell and Matt Wallner. So far on the year, we're looking at that for the scoreboard. Only one home run one time, but that doesn't get you anything when you parlay all 3 of them together. So we'll try to do better tomorrow for that. So we appreciate all of the comments, all of the viewers, all of the likes that we have gotten here on the first edition of the Cards Hub post-game show. Again, hey, Cards 365 is coming at you 365 days a year. The Cards Hub post-game show is coming your way 162 times a year. And this is one down, 161 to go, plus postseason.
Yeah, let's hope it's
what we
more.
saw today.
Let's hope it's more.
We're going a lot more. We're going postseason for these shows. And speaking of postseason, the Blues Hub post game show that is coming your way. I know they just started in the second period, so that game when that goes final, Mike Meyer and Jacob Stonick will have your post game show for the Blues, who currently sit in a playoff position in the NHL. So until tomorrow for Cards Hub 365, we bid you adieu for today. He is Ethan Hannaford. I'm Joe Roderick. We'll talk to you next time right here on Sports Hub STL.